Hey neighbors, I caught myself wanting to say good morning neighbors. It may be for you when you hear this, but it's actually afternoon and a cold afternoon, supposed to get down in mid-20s tonight, I understand. Coldest night we've had this year here in this part of East Texas. And yeah, that's a good time to hibernate. But of course I've worked in way worse than that and all kinds of conditions. But certainly good to have you with us again. I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you for all that have been listening all along. It's been a pleasure to share these stories about people I've known and experiences I've had in the oil patch, and need to share a few others as well. Still would like to hear some stories from some of y'all out there. This particular tale is not exactly a story, but it's just something about some of the banter that goes on out there working with these guys. You work around a bunch of linemen or electricians or both, and there's a lot of bull going on. A lot of bull. You're working with stuff each day that'll take you out, and you learn to approach life in a different way than a lot of people. You try to have a good time, and the time to be really serious is when you're in the middle of it, and your messing around could cost you or somebody else their life. And so you focus and you do what has to be done. The rest of the time, you deal with it by just enjoying life and having some fun, poking a little fun at others, and good-natured humor. Some of it wasn't so good-natured, but a lot of it was. And this particular tale is relating how, electricians would call linemen stump jumpers, and linemen would call themselves stump jumpers, because they're out there climbing those old stumps, those poles in the ground. And linemen like to call electricians narrowbacks, and that was kind of a derogatory term, but we got to where we're used to it. I'm technically an electrician. My ticket says inside wireman, IBEW. And but in the oil field, I did both. I did a lot of power line work too. And one of the things that happens out there, you get tagged with nicknames. And I remember this old lineman, old foreman we had, and he was a pretty tough customer. And but I always viewed him as a fair man and definitely an honest man. He always had something going on. If you went out to the woods to take a dump, he would tell you, bring a little back on your finger. In other words, I want to know you're not out there messing around on me. Now, I don't ever remember anybody doing that. Thankfully, these guys knew that he was messing with them. He was just messing with them. And but when I was a young apprentice, he was calling me High Pockets. Hey, High Pockets, go get me that wrench over there, or bring me that come along hand line or whatever. And I was young, and I thought, why is he calling me High Pockets? And it was a few years later when I finally put two and two together. Yeah, maybe I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Maybe that's what it is. But I realized he was telling me I was a tall fella. I had high pockets. You get it? Anyway, it was stuff like that always going on. And he's been gone a lot of years now. And, I miss that rascal. I would love to be able to go and sit down and drink a cup of coffee with him and listen to some of his stories and he was a hard worker, and he got a lot of work done on his cruise. Well, that's it. High Pockets here is going to sign off and say thank you again for visiting in. Until next time, so long for the Rough and Tumbled channel.